The 2023 draft class hit hard for the Seattle Seahawks this week. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well today. It is Tuesday. We're still feeling it a little bit, still feeling the after effects of Victory Monday. There is a little bit of a Victory Tuesday effect, I find, so still going through it, still happy, still excited about where this season might be going. Definitely interested to see how the team responds to the challenge, the difficulties, the obstacles that two really good teams that we're going to play these next 2 weeks will face. But let's continue to process this most recent win. Let's do it by taking a look, again, kind of a surface level look at how the young players on this team did. And I don't think I need to tell you guys, it was a pretty special week for a lot of these players. We did very well when it came to players on rookie deals, particularly players drafted in the 2023 draft class. So that's got to feel good, because that's the draft class where we had all the draft capital in the world, and some people kind of wondered about a little bit, little pieces of it here and there. Maybe they were wondering, was that pick good? Was that pick good? For at least one game, it seemed like pretty much every pick was pretty darn good. Please like this video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. Click the bell for notifications. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to help support the channel. All right, so let's just jump right into it with running back, man. Walker didn't play, so there's nothing new there, but you know who did play. Zach Charbonnet had the best game of his career. He touched the ball almost 30 times, and if you combine passing and rushing, had almost 200 yards. That is the kind of game that is probably going to get him a ground player of the week. Like, forget the best game of his career. That might be the best game any running back had all week. We'll see. He also had the 2 touchdowns, by the way. So I kind of feel like he probably should, without taking too deep of a look at any other running backs. But is there another running back out there that tops that? Almost 200 yards from scrimmage on less than 30 touches and 2 touchdowns? I doubt it. PFF grade went up to a 77.3. And we may be riding him a little bit more these next couple of weeks. We'll see what happens with K9. Maybe we'll find out later today. Kenny McIntosh, first real action for him in a while in the offense, and it was good, man. Like, he genuinely brought something nice to the table here. It was 9 touches for a grand total of, 45 yards. So, doing it a little bit as a receiver, doing it as a running back, he can play. The guy can play. Now, I understand that there's probably some concerns about his ability to pass block that are making us not want to play him consistently, but we might need to find some role for him, because he can do stuff that even I feel like Walker can't do. And certainly not Charbonnet. I think that McIntosh can kind of play that gadget receiver role in a way that those guys cannot. PFF grade went up. George Holani finally got his first NFL touch. Unfortunately, it was a negative 1-yard catch. So that is probably the only touch he's going to have all season, if we're being honest. So, George Holani, you are now an unfortunate trivia question, and every single person watching this video now has more yards in the 2024 NFL season than George Holani. Personally, I hope he touches the ball again at some point this year so he doesn't have to own that. Because that's just, you don't want to be that kind of embarrassing trivia answer, right? Moving on to wide receivers, JSN, I mean, well, what else can be said? Another good game for him. He had 6 touches for somewhere around, what was it? Yeah, about almost 90 yards total and the touchdown, 81 PFF. It keeps going up. His production keeps going up. He, as of right now, to my knowledge, he's not on track to make the Pro Bowl. That needs to change. Pro Bowl should be about production. I know he's not as good as some of these other receivers. Like, I know he's not as good as A.J. Brown. I know he's not as good as some of these other players that are obviously not making the Pro Bowl, but he's producing better than them. That's the only thing that should matter. It's the Pro Bowl. Go vote him in, seriously. So, one more decent game from JSN. He's at 1,000 yards from scrimmage, and it's totally reasonable to expect that he's going to get to about 1,200. Remember, he does have a little bit of rushing stuff as well. Bobo didn't really do anything. PFF grade continues to fall. He just, I don't know. Seems like Grubb doesn't have a role for him the way that Waldron did. I don't know. It's kind of weird that we can't find more of a role for him. But then again, it doesn't seem like his blocking is even good. So how are you going to get on the field when you can't block and you run a 4.840? AJ Barner had one catch. It was a cool catch, but I think it was 13 yards he had. Yeah, 13 yards. In some ways, it feels like Barner's production in the passing game has kind of replaced what we were thinking we were going to get from Bobo. Not a bad trade-off. Barner definitely has a higher ceiling. I'm not against it. 60 PFF grade, so basically at the C level for Barner at this point, which I think is good for him because he is a rookie. He's got a lot to learn. His route tree is not very sophisticated yet. The fact that he's able to maintain a playable level of football as a rookie, I think is good. So, like it. All right, that's it for the receiver stuff. Let's take a look at some of this offensive line stuff where they played their best game of the year. They definitely did. Individually, I think it was more about the group working well together because individually there were problems. Charles Cross, I think he did pick up a penalty this week. Yes, he did. He had a penalty, allowed 2 pressures. Run block grade went up a little bit, I believe, and overall grade went down like 0.1. So not significant, but Cross has played better games this year, but overall still playing at a very high level, still playing at a borderline Pro Bowl level, and I'm happy with what we're getting. And maybe the changes we made to our run scheme this week were good. I'm surprised. I always thought of Charles Cross as being a zone blocker, especially when you consider the fact that he's a more mobile guy and he doesn't have elite strength yet. But it worked for one game. Maybe we got to stick with it until it stops working. Oluwatimi did pick up his first penalty of the year. He also allowed a pressure, and his grade slipped a little bit. Still holding at like a slightly above average level. I am going to say, however, that when we are trying to make these evaluations on some of these young offensive linemen to figure out who's part of the future, I look at Oluwatimi and I see a guy who I want to be my backup center, not so much a starter, and Lomia, and who is making mistakes. I'm not saying that Lomia is without fault here, but Lomia might be the guy that I'm more looking at as a future starter because he's a little younger than Oluwatimi. He has less experience, and I feel like right guard's just a little bit easier to get away with just being okay. Like Lomia in this game, let me see here. Yeah, no penalties. I don't know if he allowed a pressure. Yeah, he allowed one pressure, and it's right guard. So I understand that allowing pressures as a right guard is pretty. It's different than any other position, and he still wasn't graded well. Although I think the grade is kind of bunk. But I don't know. I look at Lomia and I'm like, yeah, that guy could be a long-term starter here, and I wouldn't be upset about it because I think he's good enough. Like he could be J.R. Sweezy. You just need to find better players to put around him. And I'd rather try to find something better than Oluwatimi long term. Hopefully that's Christian Haynes, by the way, because he's probably moving to center at some point. And then you have Abe Lucas, who did not have a great game. He did pick up, I think, 2 penalties. Yes, 2 penalties. Allowed 3 pressures. Grades slipped significantly. I don't mind what I see from him overall, though. Like, I look at the penalties as something that I'm willing to live with for the moment because he's still probably trying to get back into the swing of things, and he's still providing stability that nobody else at the right tackle spot this year could. So I'm not going to get too twisted up about it, but now would be a good time for him to accelerate a bit. I'll put it to you that way. All right, now we swing over to the defense. Byron Murphy had a real nice game, not necessarily in stats, but he had a lot of pressures, 3 tackles. PFF grade went up to almost 60, so he's almost at C level, which again I think is probably not reflective of what Murphy's doing for us, but Pro Football Focus is not a big fan. And I do kind of understand why, knowing PFF. I don't think it's reflective of what he's doing, but I get it. Morris and Young don't play. Tyrese Knight had a nice little game for the Seahawks. It was 12 tackles. Made some plays near the line of scrimmage, nothing behind. Did deflect a couple of passes. I think he broke up a pass intended for Marvin Harrison on one play. I think there was another play where he deflected a pass intended for McBride. So now he's making plays in coverage. 70.2 PFF grade. That is way above what I would have expected from Knight if I knew he was going to be a starter this year. He seemed like a work in progress, but he's already he's getting it done. Really impressive stuff by Tyrese Knight. Edge rusher, kind of quiet this week, although I will say Mafe did the heavy lifting on Jonathan Hankins' sack. So I think he did a little bit more than the stats indicate. Derek Hall drew like 3 holding calls in that game. So I know that they only gave him, like 1 tackle, and Mafe had like 3 tackles. And Derek Hall also missed a couple tackles, by the way. So I get some of the criticism, but I think Derek Hall got shortchanged here. Like, his PFF grade's almost down to a 60. I don't see a 60 player. I don't see an average player with Derek Hall. I see clearly an above average player so far. The fact that he doesn't get some credit for the fact that he caused multiple holding calls in this game, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense. Cornerback, pretty good. Woolen, I think he had he actually had 9 tackles in this game, which is worth noting. Some of it's because he got beaten coverage a good amount. Some of it is also because he actually was playing aggressively and playing appropriately against the run. He had a pass breakup in the end zone. PFF grade went up. He's at about a 70 now. And again, I think that the Woolen puzzle is a little bit difficult to solve here, but we are seeing something a little bit more in line with somebody that I'm willing to give a lot of money to in the offseason. Witherspoon played a really nice game, 7 tackles. Sorry about that. I had to answer my phone there, but yeah, Witherspoon, I thought, played a real good game. Made some really impressive tackles coming up in run support and occasionally through the passing game as well. I think he broke up a pass in this game. No, he did not. My bad. But his PFF grade did go up, and I think he's doing his job 100%. At this point, obviously, those are the only 2 young corners on this team that are playing. I guess Joby, you technically could put him here because he is young, but it is a little bit different with the guys that you pick up. So, moving on from that, the only thing left really is safety, and I don't think I need to tell you guys how Kobe's doing. 4 tackles. He did miss a tackle, which, I mean, that's going to happen sometimes with these safeties, right? They're trying to tackle guys bigger than them, and he made a big interception that led to a touchdown. So, he's played at a pretty high level for an extended period of time now in his role as a safety. I know he gave up a touchdown on the first drive. I know that was bad, but even McDonald pointed it out yesterday. It's like, it's not just him getting beat. There's a little more going on that play than just, oh, Kobe Bryant got beat. And even if he did get beat, that's going to happen every now and then. 76.3 PFF grade, that's much higher than his rookie year. That's a lot higher than we were seeing from Rayshon when he had that role. And yeah, he's the safety going forward, I think. That includes next year. I don't think he's going to want a new contract this offseason, or at least he's not going to credibly ask for one. Derek Reed, he did screw up a little bit on one special teams play where I think he thought the Cardinal guy fair caught it, and the Cardinal guy did not. So he kind of looked stupid, but other than that, not much to report. That's it, but that's a lot of it, right? You are talking about a lot of meaningful things happening on the backs of your young players on these rookie deals, getting a great bargain. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. More videos coming later. Let me know what you think. Go Hawks, and everyone continue to appreciate the winning streak. It will not go on forever, as much as we might like it to. It will stop eventually, so enjoy it while it's here.